So, Angela, what is the easiest fruit to grow?
That's blackberries.
I'm telling you, I see them on the railroad tracks. I see them in fence lines. I see them in ditches.
Yep.
Nobody takes care of them, and they're wonderful.
They pretty much take care of themselves. They're delicious and very productive.
And pretty.
They're gorgeous. This fall color is outstanding.
It is beautiful.
And any place you can grow a rose, you can grow a blackberry because they're kind of kissing cousins.
Oh, that's good to know. So, again, when people see them in the wild and they just see them in mass,
right?
They are big, brambly.
It's a mess.
A mess.
It's a rat's nest.
Exactly. But with all the thornless varieties available now, but they really don't need that much space.
They don't. That's one of the great things about them is you can get a lot of production in a very small footprint. So even those of you who have very small yards, you can grow blackberries and have fresh organic blackberries right off your back porch.
It sounds wonderful.
They're so good.
And you can get them quickly too. Some fruit you're waiting 3, 4, 5, 7 years before you really have a harvest. These guys, when you buy them in a pot this size, you're looking at picking berries this year.
You are, because technically this is last year's growth. And that's where we're going to get our fruit for this year. So as you can see, this one's bursting out, getting ready to go.
Right.
And then these lower berries that are starting to grow from the bottom, those will be next year's fruit. So the strategy with blackberries is we're going to grow these. We're going to choose to get them into a manageable, upright condition where the roadsides, they kind of sprawl on their own.
Yeah.
And here we want to grow them where we can manage them. So we want to get them upright. It can be as easy as a T-post and some stretchy, stretchy green tape. That's an easy way. Or if you want something that's prettier, you can go with an ornamental support in your garden. Again, they can be planted here and just tied up to the outside of this little tuteur, or they can go on a trellis. Anything you want. And that's all the space that they need for a full-grown blackberry.
Right. So we're not going to prune this. So if I purchase this guy today, took it home and planted it, either prepared my bed area, or in a container.
They will grow happily in a 15-gallon container.
I could expect to be harvesting fruit off these vines.
Yes,
later in the summer, these vines will die back.
Yes, at the end of the season, They'll die back, and we want to cut them back pretty much almost all the way to the ground as soon as this cane completes its production cycle. Then they're going to be replaced through the growing season with the new canes, which will tie up to our support, and then those will be the canes that produce for us next year. So we're always on that replacement cycle.
Okay.
That does a few things for us. One, it allows us to really not worry about a lot of disease issues and things because we're replacing the canes every year. This material is going out of the garden and the new fresh material is growing. And it also allows us to kind of control that size so that we can grow them in a manageable space. The other advantage to growing them vertically, we want to let them get about 4.5 feet tall. We're going to top them off at that point because we want to encourage lateral growth. That's where we're looking. The more horizontal we get them, the more sunlight they capture. And the more sunlight they capture, the bigger berries we'll have, the more flavorful berries, and also more production.
So that's how this one was tipped right here.
Yes,
you can see that going exactly.
Tipped off and ready to go.
Now, when we go out and just pick them, some years are sweeter than others. Some years are drier. So is there kind of a little trick where we can be a little more consistent with flavor?
There really is. The key there is mineralization. Minerals are what make the food taste really good to us. And they're also the things that makes it more nutritious for us as well.
Right.
So in nature, it can be a little bit inconsistent based on what the soil is like for that year, what moisture is like for that year, so that whether or not plants can absorb all of the minerals that they need. Well, in a controlled garden environment, we are in charge of that. So we need to mineralize our soil on a regular basis.
Okay.
Really, about once every other year is sufficient.
All right.
And a lot of good fertilizers have a mineral package in them. So if your fertilizer has a mineral package, then you don't have to worry too much about that.
Perfect.
And so if we pay attention to that, we're going to have consistent, good, sweet, juicy berries. And then the other thing is managing water, making sure they like to have a lot of water while the berries are coming up to size and maturing, but they're really not water hogs the rest of the year.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
Nobody waters the railroad tracks.
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, I mean, kind of a no-brainer.
Really easy to go. And then look at this fall color.
I cannot get over how beautiful these vines are right now.
These are as pretty as any Japanese maple.
Oh, one other tip. How do I know when to pick it?
Oh, that is a good tip. Okay, so here's a flower instead of a fruit. And this will end up, once it's pollinated, becoming our fruit. When you see the berries enlarge and get to full color, then you need to start watching them. You can see that they'll go from shiny to slightly dull. That's your first tip.
Okay.
And then when you go to pick, if you'll put your hand under the berry and just press your thumb on the stem behind it, if it easily falls into your hand, that berry's ripe and ready to go. If you have to pull the berry off, it's not ready yet. Wait a day or two. It may be just the next day or even a day or two afterwards that it's ready to go. So if it falls into your hand, that berry's ready.
You're making me hungry.
Can't wait for the season.
I know, right? So the easiest fruit to grow? Blackberries.
Blackberries.